So, good evening, friends. We have started discussing about the most practical part of the Organon since yesterday's lecture, and we have learned basically the first part of it, how to deal with the patients, how to deal with the cases, and when you consider about those cases, how to differentiate basically the mode of case taking in acute cases and mode of case taking in chronic cases. Both are very much necessary. Hahnemann explains over there that it is necessary to differentiate between them. Once you differentiate, then your task becomes rather simple. Because in acutes, generally whenever a patient comes, he always comes in an acute state, and that state defines you directly a remedy because everything is of a self-evident. Everything is of a recent origin. And when the things are of recent origin, generally in such types of cases, patient never forgets anything. He used to tell you all the details where you can get either a characteristic location, characteristic sensation, or characteristic modality, or sometimes even characteristic concomitant, and which is really very acute origin and which is fresh in the mind of the patient and which you can easily get, with which you can approach towards the right remedy. So missing the right remedy generally never happens when you deal with the acutes, and that this is a very important thing one must not forget. Then he explains that when you deal with the chronic, the things are rather different. When you deal with the chronic, at that time, much time is required because patient forgets the characteristicness of the symptom. As he becomes used to those symptoms, it is never fresh in his mind, and that's why he will not going to give you the characteristics with which you can individualize the patient. And that's why you have to understand that patient from all perspectives to reach to the right remedy of that specific patient. Here, the individualization is rather difficult. And for that purpose, what is needed is already we have learned when we have learned the fifth aphorism. He explained over there how to investigate a fundamental cause and few points which we have discussed at that time. Anyone who knows those 7 points which are there in your mind? The first important point which he has mentioned is ascertainable physical constitution. That is very much important. Second important point is that his moral and intellectual character. The third important thing is his occupation. The fourth important thing is his mode of living and habits. Then his domestic and domestic relations, personal relations, social relations. Then comes the age of the patient. And last point to be asked is related with the sexual function. And these are 7 points with which you can approach and you can understand the human being. So this is what is needed when you deal with the chronic. And these 7 points are the basic pillars with which you can individualize one patient from the another patient, and one should not forget. But if you want to understand this, or if you want to catch this, how the physician should be, what are the qualities which one should born in order to take a detailed case. And that's why Hahnemann says, whatever is there, henceforth I will going to express, right from aphorism number 83 to the aphorism number 104. Everything is related with the chronic case taking, and it is little matters with the acutes. These are the things which are specifically written for the chronic case taking. So we'll start with the aphorism 83, where he defines basically the qualities of the homeopathic physician in order to take the chronic case. So we'll start with the aphorism 83. This individualizing examination of the case of disease, for which I shall only give in this place general directions, of which the practitioner will bear in the mind only what is applicable for each individual case, demands of the physician nothing but Number one, freedom from prejudice. Number two, and sound senses. Number two is sound senses. Number three is attention in observing. And number four is fidelity in tracing the picture of the disease. These are the four important qualities one should born or one should have when he deals with the chronic case. Individualizing examination of the case matters a lot. In fact, these are the four important qualities which should be very, very, very essential for you. Out of which the first quality is rather difficult, very difficult. To achieve freedom from prejudice is very difficult. Why it is difficult? Anyone have answer? Why it is so difficult to achieve freedom from prejudice? Because we are born with certain qualities. The God has gifted us few things. One of them is memory. Second important thing he has given is intellect. Third important thing which is God gifted is logic. And that's why every time a person used to use logic and memory and he starts analyzing the things. So when you see towards anything, your mind immediately works and starts comparing it with whatever is there in your memory, stored in your memory. And that's why if a patient comes and hiccups in a typical manner, immediately you starts comparing it with the previous patient who coughs in the similar manner. Then your mind immediately judges, I have given him calcarea, let us see calcarea with this patient, whether it looks calcarea. Because it is not your fault. It is you are used to that. You are born with that. To come out of it is not a simple task. To become unprejudiced is a very, very, very difficult task. It's not so simple to become unprejudiced. Because every time our intellect matters. Because intellect is the thing which brings or which utilizes your memory. Intellect, I generally defines intellect as it is a faculty of a brain which with the help of a logic and the memory comes to the conclusion or a deduction is called as an intellect. This is my definition. But this is truth that every time whenever you look towards anything, immediately your brain starts working. Fault is with your intellect. It is the recent generation is more intellectual. In fact, you people are more intellectual than our generation. And your next generation will be more and more intellectual. But problem lies that if you are intellectual, you become prejudiced. Immediately you start comparing, you start finding it out the thing. To become unprejudiced, Hahnemann has given one thing in 6th aphorism. He says that don't label the name. Don't find it out what is wrong with the patient in a diseased manner. Just find it out one thing. What was his state prior to the disease, that is during healthy, how he was, and what are the changes happened in him during disease state. Only thing, just go on listening what has happened to you after once the disease has started, and let us listen from the patient what is wrong with him. So that will guide you towards his state. You go on observing. The patient is one of the important source. Second important source is some information is fed by the patient's attendants. Third important part who is there along with that is the physician himself. The physician himself observes certain things and catches those things. And according to the modern era, the investigation is the fourth point which will guide you towards all those things. So these are very, very essential, important things with which you can become little bit unprejudiced. And once you become unprejudiced, then the things better, then the things becomes very simple for you, because then you can reach to the right remedy. Then you can go ahead with that specific individual instead of going toward the diagnosis of the patient. Because going with the diagnosis always gives clue to the same remedy again and again. Once you treat a patient with the Duchenne muscular dystrophy with one remedy, your mind runs behind the same remedy when you get another patient of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So forget Duchenne muscular dystrophy, just see what the patient is expressing. And this method which we have to develop, this method which you have to develop when dealing with the chronic cases. Basically, this is too important. And Shankaran said, sir used to say that you become idiot when you take a chronic case. Because once you are idiot, you forget whatever is there in your mind. You look toward that patient with an idiotic way, and you can gather the recent information. You can gather the real information. And that real information will guide you towards the right way. And that's why Hahnemann says over there, the first important quality which you have to develop is the freedom from prejudice. So, freedom from prejudice, keep it in your mind, it is necessary and necessary. And simple method and technique which Hahnemann sir have mentioned, just ask the patient what is wrong with you and what is your problem. Unfortunately, we are lucky and unlucky both ways. Lucky in the sense that we get diagnosed cases, but those diagnosed cases, patient comes to you with diagnosis and he says, you ask what is your problem, he says that I have a SLE. That's all. He gives you diagnosis. One thing is clear, that being a VIHMC student, we are lucky enough that we get a diagnosis. We know that patient is suffering from SLE because we have very little clinical knowledge to diagnose the SLE over there. So you are lucky that we get it, but we are unlucky because we get the diagnosis and patient knows only the diagnosis. He comes and he tells, what I am having SLE. What should be your next question? Your next question should be, forget about SLE, what is your problem? What's wrong with you? How your disease has started? What was the presentation at the start of this disease? Since how many days it is there? So that you can get directly how the disease has started right from the first day when he observed that he has developed certain problem. My basic question, whenever I deal with the patient, I used to tell him directly, please tell me whatever has happened right from the day one of the disease till today. तुम्हाला जिथपासून सुरुवात झाली तिथपासून जे काय झालं ते सगळं सविस्तर योग्य सांगा. दिस इज टू इम्पोर्टेंट. यू गो ऑन टेलिंग द पेशेंट, आपको जब से तकलीफ है तब से लेके अभी तक क्या क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, सब डिटेल बताओ. दिस इज द बेस्ट वे ऑफ understanding the patient and patient's disease and patient's symptoms. So you can listen all those things very clearly from the patient. And this is the best way to understand the complaint. Generally, we get all those diagnosed cases. Patient comes, doctor, I am having the rheumatism. Patient comes and says that I am having gout. He knows the names of the diseases because already allopaths have declared the names. Doctor, I have cancer. Hahnemann says, forget cancer, forget rheumatism, forget gout, forget SLE. It doesn't matter because you are not treating that. You don't have to treat that. You have to treat that individual. And that's why basic thing is that ask the patient what is wrong with you so that you can get whatever you want. That will be a prescribing data for you. So first quality gives you prescribable data if you have a freedom from prejudice. And this is most important thing one should born, one should develop, and with which you can apply that. This is too important. Okay. So first quality which we have discussed, freedom from prejudice. So don't consider, अरे कल के रे आ रहा है, पूजा आ रहा है, लाइको आ रहा है, forget those things. You do it after case taking. Complete the case taking. Find it out the totality, analyze the totality, evaluate the totality, find it out repertorial totality, find it out the potential differential field. Then you come to the repertorize the case. Then you again use the PDF as well as Matra Medica and then reach to the right remedy. This is the method. Why this method has developed? This method has developed only for the purpose that you should not become prejudiced. You should not go with thematic prescription. Thematic prescriptions many a times gives you a partial simillimum. But once you go with this method, you go away from the prejudiced mind, and you can reach to the right remedy with the help of that. And that's why it is necessary use the repertory again and again. My suggestion to all of you is that instead of going only through the Matra Medica, try to make a hold on repertory. Repertory will guide you to become unprejudiced. And this is too important from your point of view, being a neophyte in this field. One should always learn this. So first quality which we have discussed is the freedom from prejudice. Second important quality, that is sound senses. What are senses? Which are senses, in fact? Which senses are needed? Which are the basic senses? About which senses Hahnemann is talking about? Anyone?
Nose, ear, eyes, touch.
Nose, ear, eyes, touch. Okay.
The smell, hearing, feeling.
First important thing, yes, you must have these 5 senses. The first sense is that eyes vision, ears hearing, nose smell, skin touch, and tongue taste. These are 5 important senses. Out of which, forget about last one. That is, you should not apply tongue taste and don't apply at all. So forget the last sense. But rest of the 4 are very essential. Out of which first we'll discuss about the first sense, eyes observation. What you observe is very important, because that is a fact which you are observing many a time. 90% time it is a fact which you are observing. So make a habit of observation and make a habit of finding it out, open your repertoire, finding it out which are the rubrics which you can observe from every chapter. Make a habit. If you make a habit, then you will have ample data that you can prepare your own repertoire and you can make name over there, that the repertoire of observable rubric. You write your name under that, under the guidance of Dr. Prasad Rasal. But this work I have done when I have done the MD from the London University in 1997. At that time, I have made a dissertation on this topic. Value of observations from the Kent's repertory and Boningussen's therapeutic pocketbook in practical application. And I have separated each and every rubric, observable rubric from each chapter from Kent's repertory. If you get those, you are quite confident because you have observed patient. And first important thing in that is you must know what is there in your repertory which you can observe. If you don't know this is in your repertory, you cannot observe. This is too important. If you want to observe anything, first you must know what is there. First important thing is to know what to observe. If you don't know what to observe, how can you use it? You cannot. And that's why this is first important thing, that you must know what to observe. Simple thing is that first observe the patient as a physical constitution, ascertainable physical constitution, first point. So which are the things which you're going to observe? If the patient is there in front of you, what you're going to observe? Anything else? Anyone? What you are going to observe? काय observe करणार? You can discuss. Yes, Hardik.
पेशेंट कैसे बैठता है,
Very good.
कैसे बोल रहा है.
Which are things which you are going to observe?
सर इमोशंस बात करते हुए उसकी आंखों में टीयर्स तो नहीं आ रहे, वीपिंग टेंडेंसी तो नहीं हो रही, हाथों में एंजाइटी.
My suggestion is that what we are discussing is ascertainable physical constitution first. आप जो बोल रहे हो गलत है, ऐसा नहीं. That is second point. First, make a habit of looking toward the patient as a material. Ascertainable physical constitution, physical. This is the first important theme of your case. When you are dealing with the patient, first thing, look the patient. If I am taking the cases of the abroad patient, generally I used to do a video call. I observe the patient. And if it is not possible, I ask them to send me their photograph. Today only I have prescribed for one patient. It was not possible for them to make a video call. I asked that you send me the photograph. Because first important thing that when one says it, just observe the ascertainable. Ascertainable means observable, which you can observe with your own eye. Observable physical constitution. Yes, Dr. Uma, she has explained that physical build-up. Anything else?
कपड़े कैसे पहने, मैचिंग सब पहना है, वाट से या नहीं, फेस पे कोई.
अभी पहले कपड़ों की तरफ मत जाओ. एग्रीड, कपड़े कैसे पहने, पहले फिजिकल क्वांटिटी. सबसे पहले right from the head to toe observe him, whether you start with the top. मेरे तरफ देखेंगे, hairs है नहीं है. First important thing. Then you see the face, then you see the head basically, whether it is a big head, small head, lamba hai, jada hai, rounded hai, all things are very essential. Then you see the face, what is there on the face, what you can observe on your face, on the face of the patient. कैसा है वो, oily दिख रहा है, dry दिख रहा है, उसके eyes कैसे है. Eyes are very important. वो slanting है समझो, तो Mongol look हो गया. That is very important. You have to go on observing all those details, each and everything is given in detail in Hutchinson's clinical medicine. These are the things which are essential, which we forget. What has happened? This investigation made such an impression in our mind, we forget basic things. All things which you have to go on observing, and those are very essential things in your practice. Ascertainable physical constitution, right from the head to toe, everything. That matters a lot. Neck है तो कैसी है, लंबी है, small है, emaciated है. You observe, open your repertory, you will find that there is a rubric, emaciation neck, दिया है उसमें rubric. Eyes के तरफ देखेंगे, if you find it out, the eyes, there are things mentioned, long eyelashes. Recent generation, small children, you get the elongated eyelashes, silky eyelashes, and there is a rubric in your repertory, elongated, long eyelashes over there. You get this physical constitution very easily. These are the things which is nose, knobby teeth, big nose. You observe, अरे patient सामने बैठा है, nose उसका बड़ा है, knob के जैसा दिखता है. Only one remedy in whole materia medica and repertory is the aurum metallicum. Why you forget all those things? Basically, Hahnemann says that these are the first important things. Yes, don't prescribe only on this, but this gives you certain clue. This gives you a certain entity about the patient. Patient is sitting in front of you and his nose is totally dilated. You have a rubric, dilated nostrils. Another patient who is sitting, he is having the continuous movement of that his nostrils. You have another rubric, motions of wings, fan-like, which you can get over there. You can see a patient who is having the cracks at the corners of mouth. There is a rubric, cracks at the corners of mouth. Another patient is there. There is a crack at the center in the lower lip. Many things you can observe. There was one patient and he had many moles over here. Many moles. Complete repertory, generalities, moles, crops of single remedy, carcinosin. You can get all those things. And those are very, very, very essential. Which guides you, at least which guides you towards certain thought. It doesn't mean you go with that, directly prescribe immediately on the basis of that remedy. But these are the first guides to reach towards the simile. So if patient is tall, slender, weak, emaciated, narrow-chested, we know this. Whether we observe with our eyes, yes, this patient looks like that. We never understand what is narrow-chested. Narrow-chested means thoracic span is very big and there is very small abdominal span. The abdomen goes inside the thorax. That is narrow-chestedness. Tubercular miasm, tubercular phosphorus, tuberculinum have that typical constitution. So every patient presents himself with his own constitution, and that constitution is very essential to understand, because that is the first thing which will guide you towards the simile. And that's why if your senses, first sense, that is just observation is good, you can get many things. Patient comes with constitution like this, semi-dropsical. The upper half of the body is weak and lower half of the body is full of fat, which you can observe with certain specific community. The typical lyco constitution. We are missing nowadays the constitution like fat fair plebby, which was declared as a calcarea calf constitution. But we generally now the children are not fat fair plebby. Nowadays the children are typical of tubercular constitution. They are very emaciated, weak, tall, slender, narrow-chested. This constitution is quite common today. So see, what you observe is very important. First, only single sound senses पे हम लोग खाली पहले पे अटके हुए. You can get ample in your case taking. Make a habit. Today's homework for all of you is that open the chapter, just extremities, nails, and see how many things are given under the nails. Just open, do it with Kent's repertory. Forget about complete. Just find it out. What are the things which are mentioned about the nails, which is observable, which you can observe and see how many things are mentioned over there. Just observation gives you many things. See, this is the hard work which one has to do. If you want to reach to the right simile, you should not miss all those things. There are many patients who comes to you with multiple warts around the eyes. It is given in the first chapter, warts around the eyes. You can get that. At least you can get certain things about the remedy. And these are very essential in order to understand the person. If you just observe the person who is sitting in front of you and he's just sweating and sweating and sweating and sweating, just check that it is hot or cold. If it is hot, what is that? If it is hot, it means patient might have hyperthyroidism, hot sweaty palm. If associated with tachycardia, it is hot sweaty palms with thyrotoxicosis. Remedy you might think of iodine or natrium, more commonly natrium. But if it is cold and sweaty, then you can think of silica also. See, these are the hints. These are the things which one should not miss. And that's why your observation should be a clear. How the abdomen is there, how the thorax is there, how the back is there, how the person is sitting, everything matters. That guides you towards a certain thing. There are certain people whose palms are very short. Some people whose palms are very long, elongated, the fingers are there. Open the repertory, find it out. Is it there in your repertory? Look towards them. So first important thing is ascertainable physical constitution. Here only we have discussed about the constitution. That means what is observable with your naked eye regarding the patient, not at attitude of the patient we have discussed. How the person comes, we have not yet just observed. We have observed how he physically is finished. A person comes who is having like this, his neck is not there, not observation. He's having very short neck, he's a psychotic personality, Truja medorinum, I have there. A pot-bellied abdomen, Truja medorinum, psychotic constitution. Ask the patient to open the tongue, and tongue is one of the important part of the constitution which you can observe with your naked eye. See the teeth of the patient and just observe. You can get many things about the patient. Such a thing is necessary in case taking. I think we will require much time with this aphorism. And this we have to learn. So today there is a homework for all of you. Go through your Kent's repertory. Just observe only things, nails, how many rubrics are made you get in the chapter of extremities regarding nails. Okay. So I think that's all for today, and tomorrow we'll meet at the same time, sharp at 6 o'clock, and we'll have further. I think this aphorism only we will require much more time to discuss, because there are many things which we have to learn. Okay. So thank you everyone, Anita, Preeti, Sir, Ali, Anupam, everyone. Thanks a lot for attending session. Today evening, those who are there in the Divine School of Homeopathy, Dr. Moin, he's sharing one case or cases, I don't know exactly, but he's a very good physician. In fact, he have very thorough knowledge about the medicine, in fact. Being a VIHMS, but worked very hard in the ICU, turned towards the homeopathy later on, and have a very good knowledge about it. He learned with me nearly about a year and practicing in bid. Those who are there, don't miss his session today, so that you can learn few things about him, about his aspect of looking toward the thing. So don't miss such a session. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Preeti.
Thank you, sir.